I'm Tim Rowley. I'm a professor at the University of Toronto at the Rotmans School. I've been there for 17 years in the strategy area the whole time, and I'm also a visiting scholar at INSEAD. I really like the idea of taking different disciplines or sub-disciplines and putting them together to create new knowledge. So it's the interaction of theories that others have not connected before that brings that to life. I think there's not a lot of room today to create new grand theories. I don't think that, I mean, maybe there is, but I'm not going to be the one doing it. But I think there's wonderful opportunity to take all this genius that's happened in our disciplines and connect them in a way that they haven't connected before. And I, as a researcher, as someone looking at Ph.D. students, as an editor of a journal, that's where I see a lot of great contributions coming when people get excited about things. Many arguments you see in the literature are, they become polarized. That it's this way, it's that way. It's climate change, it's good, it's bad, So, and the answer is always somewhere in the middle, which means we should be looking at the conditionals. So it goes this way, it goes that way, it's A, it's B. Well, under what conditions is it A, what conditions is it B? There's a tendency for us all to read the things that fit with our model, and that become very myopic, and you don't see others. The other thing is, if you're an organizational theorist, go to an economics talk, and go to a marketing talk, and just see some things that are different than what you do. And then what I find is very important but takes energy is don't judge it. Because we have, whoever your training is, you have a set of constraints and paths that you're supposed to do, but it's different than the other disciplines. If you accept yours, you'll never see the other work as value. You'll just see the problems in it. So you almost have to suspend your own thinking and say, or your own reactions, and say, what's different about this? What can I use? Right? And I think that is extreme. And the people in marketing that are doing consumer behavior things, they take economics, they take sociology stuff, they take psychology. I mean, they're just like a vacuum of academic ideas. And I think a bunch of us could, and I went to a few of those talks, I thought, wow, this is amazing. There are people going deep, but they're able to bridge across. And I think I took from that experience the value of it. It's possible to make the argument, I know it's not the best argument, but it's possible to make the argument that everything we do in management research, and even what managers do, is they spend all their time in uncertainty reduction. And most of what we do is we talk about how they do that, how they should do that, and it's all that to make better decisions. That's really, at the end of the day, what we're doing. The students we teach, we're trying to get them the tools they need so they can make better decisions under uncertainty. If there's no uncertainty, we wouldn't have a business school. Wouldn't need it, right? You just get a big brain, figure it out, move on. But we're uncertainty reduction processes. That's what we are from this perspective. So if you'll accept that, then we have to start thinking about what are and you accept the fact that they're doing it in teams, in groups, and it's a social process of making these decisions. And all the human flaws get in there, then you have to accept the fact that people are going to make errors, they're going to lie, and they're going to state opinions as if they are based on fact, and we're going to make big investments, as I've talked about, based on things with very little substantiation behind it. If you're going to talk about strategic decision making, we have to accept this. But the problem is there's no data. There's no data source where you go, oh yeah, there it is. There's deception. Like people don't. How do you collect that other than to see it happen? And then there's another piece of it which I haven't done and I haven't seen it yet, is linking to leadership and visionaries. So in the work I was doing, talking to people, that I'd say, can you tell me someone who engages in a lot of, they say things unsubstantiated, which I'm calling bullshit. they rely on intuition, but not a lot of fact. And I can get people to comment on someone else and say, oh yeah, they're a real bullshitter. They're a bullshitter, and yeah, they're great and they're charming and all that stuff. And I get the same people that talk about someone else and go, that guy is a bullshitter. So there's an interesting thing going on here, that it's a positive and a negative based on who says it, when they say it, what's the motive. And I think there's an area that we should explore more. Well, first, I think it's two parts there. The first part is bullshit or unsubstantiated claims. I'm suggesting is getting a bad rap. That in some ways, if we're not thinking about rational process with rigor behind it, if we accept that's an important piece, but there's other pieces. When we think about coming up with innovation is based on things we've never done, so there is no data. So we have to accept possibilities. We can't talk about probabilities because we don't have data to say what they are. So once you get into that realm, it's a different process. It's a different process in how we exploit our existing knowledge. When we need new knowledge, we have to bullshit in order to come up with hypotheses. And one thing I didn't talk about yet is that the other thing I saw is when there was some bullshit allowed in the discussion, there were more opportunities, a bigger alternative set. So we looked at more options than if we didn't have it. So the thinking got broader. I like all of my co-authors. Like, they're people that I'd have dinner with. Right? There's not one that I'd say, you know what, I love working with them, but I would, let's minimize the amount of time. So I think that's good. I respect them all. The reason we work on multiple papers is not quite because we want to. It's more a fact that when we start a project, we think about this idea and it becomes very grand. And then you start writing, and then you realize it's not a paper, and then you reduce it down to it's 20 years of work. You reduce it down. Okay, let's get 2 or 3 papers out of this. And by the time you're done, that's how it works. So the intention isn't we've invested in each other, let's make this happen. Or the other thing that's happened, especially working with Henrik Rev and Andrew Shipaloff of late, is that we go through the review process and new things come up. Or we're asked to take something out of a paper that we think is valuable, and we can't get it in there, so then we have to find a way to scratch that academic itch